Good morning, everybody, and welcome into Coffee Hour, hosted by the Penn State Alumni Association. We will be getting started in just a couple of minutes here. We will get started around 9:03. If you are just joining us here in the Zoom room, go ahead and open up your chat box and tell us who you are and where you're from and your Penn State class year. We'd love to see who is joining us this morning. If you have a question for our guest, Michelle Harmon-Madsen, the CMO at Accuweather, you can ask that question in the Q&A tab on the bottom of your Zoom toolbar. We'll be getting started in just a couple minutes. I do want to mention that this session is being live closed captioned. Just as a heads up, we are experiencing some delay in the captioning. So if you're using captioning in Zoom, you would activate that by going to your Zoom toolbar and selecting Show Subtitle. And then from there, you would be able to see your captions on the bottom. We are experiencing a delay there, so there is actually a link that is scrolling and will be dropped in your in the chat box. You can click on that link and set up a customized live captioning if that is something that you are interested in doing. We will get started in just a minute with our conversation with Michelle Harmon-Madsen. I see the Zoom room is filling up. Participants all over. Susan Freeland from the class of 67. I see Jeff Tarosky has joined us. Good to see you all. Barb Raphael, class of 66 from New Jersey. Chris Gilbert from Kennebunkport, Maine. Sam Stein is joining us this morning. See Paul McConaughey, class of 60, still up in Cape Cod. Lori Steele, a BS in meteorology. She lives in the Detroit, Michigan area. I see Katie Mumford, class of 2011 from Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, joining us, and Jennifer Snyder from the class of 1990. Welcome, everybody. We will get started in just a moment. Where else would you rather be than a Zoom full of Penn Staters? I'm Paul Clifford, CEO of the Penn State Alumni Association, and I want to welcome you to the Penn State Alumni Association's Coffee Hour. Each week on Coffee Hour, you can expect to hear the voices of Penn Staters talking about what they're passionate about, and you can expect to feel the pride and the power of the Penn State Network. As I mentioned, live closed captions are available for this event. You can access them by clicking on the closed caption button at the bottom of the Zoom video window, and then clicking Show Subtitle. You may also customize your caption view by clicking the stream text link posted in the chat. We are also recording this session, and we'll be sharing it with other Penn Staters for inspiration. Today, I'm going to be talking to marketing and brand guru Michelle Harmon-Madsen. She is the Chief Marketing Officer at Accuweather. As the Chief Marketing Officer at Accuweather, Michelle drives the implementation of a cohesive strategic marketing vision and execution of the plan. She strengthens the brand awareness, relevance, impact, and analytics. She oversees all functions related to advertising, marketing, and the marketing of new products and services, public relations, websites, social media, and CRM. Prior to joining Accuweather, Michelle has had a stellar career in this space. She has held roles including president of Shopper X, senior vice president and brand partnerships for Fresh Direct, the vice president and director of global strategy and partnerships for MediaVest. She was the vice president of branded entertainment for 19 Entertainment, where there she led branded entertainment and sponsorship for American Idol and So You Think You Can Dance. A proud alumna of Penn State, Michelle has served on the executive board of Alumni Council and on the Smeal College of Business. She has also served on the board of She Runs It, an organization dedicated to paving the way for women to lead in marketing, media, and technology. I'm so excited to welcome Accuweather CMO, Michelle Harmon-Madsen, to Coffee Hour. Good morning, Michelle.
Good morning, Paul. Great to see you.
Great to see you as well. Let's start right at the very beginning. You grew up in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. How did you become a Penn State Nittany Lion?
I think I became, I think maybe the opposite of what I should say. I initially was like, there's no way I'm going to Penn State. I'm growing up in Lancaster and it's kind of close to home. It was about a 2-hour drive. And so I was applying to schools in all kinds of different places. And my parents did one of those, let's just go take a trip and go take a look at Penn State. Because I had been up there for track meets. But honestly, if you've been to an indoor track meet, I wouldn't call it that the best look of any place you've ever been.
Right.
So anyway, they drove me up. I did a tour of campus with the Lion Ambassador, and I was hooked. I was like, that's it. That's where I'm going. And so I was thrilled when I got in.
That's awesome. I know we have talked about this, but Jenny and I, early in my career, spent a little bit of time living in Lancaster and absolutely loved it. We lived on Lemon Street in downtown Lancaster, about 3 blocks from F&M. We'd be able to walk to Central Market, and it was just, at that time in our life, it was a great place to live.
Well, that was it's so funny because one of my very first jobs, I will tell you, was actually working in downtown Lancaster at a lovely bed and bath shop. You'll get a kick out of this. And one of my jobs in the summertime was to hand out soaps, but they looked so pretty. People thought they were candies, and so everyone wanted to try to eat them. So all summer long, I kept saying, "Don't eat the soap." So anyway, so a silly Lancaster story for you.
So while you were at Penn State, what were you involved in?
Oh, that was my major, I will tell you, at Penn State, was being involved. And so I was very fortunate to join a sorority actually my freshman year, which was a great way to engage with, a big group of friends right away. But then got very involved in Lion Ambassadors. I was chair of the Student Organization Budget Committee, what now I believe is called UPAC. So it was the University Park Allocation Committee. So we funded all the organizations on campus. And so that was great because it gave me a wonderful excuse to go visit the Chinese Student Association for their New Year's or whatever organization was doing something. So I felt very engaged, but I was also really involved with organizations like Lions Pond, Skull and Bones, which I'm really proud of.
Excellent. So you have built your career in the marketing and brand space across several industries. What initially sparked that passion? Share a little bit about kind of the why behind what you do.
It's easier now to look back because at the time I was like, gosh, I'm going to make a crazy jump to a different industry. But to me, I loved marketing. I mean, that I found the major at Penn State. And so I was really fortunate. And I should say, I actually was coming to Penn State because I wanted to be in pre-med or I wanted to be an aeronautical engineer. Well, I realized when I started those classes that people really studied in those classes, not just a little bit. And so I thought this may not be my long-term choice. And I fortunately found marketing. So then when I got into my career, what was really always interesting to me is how, that connection between consumers and brands and where that comes together. And so I was really fortunate to work in places where that was of interest. And so I worked a little bit in publishing, but when you work for like a brand like American Idol, where it, at that point in time was the brand and family entertainment, it was about how can you continue to engage, consumers with that. And that consumer was everything from, a teen or a tween to someone's grandparent. And I think that's the thing that still makes me excited today, because even when I think about weather, it's about engaging that audience. How can we continue to help them and trust them and make them want to, choose our brand, to be in love with Accuweather, as I like to say.
So, like I said, your experience is quite extensive, experience across several different industries: entertainment, food and grocery, agencies, e-commerce, and now you market the weather. So how difficult was it throughout your career to move from industry to industry? Was there a learning curve?
Yeah, absolutely. There's always a little bit of a learning curve. But I actually, I think in many ways, industries are more similar than they are different. And the differences really come in the acronyms you use or some of the language and lingo that people will use. But once you kind of look at the heart of, you've got a client or a customer relationship and how can you focus on that relationship to be better, I find that things really become more similar. And it's interesting because even when I think about, my time working in e-commerce, in grocery, I would have never said, oh my gosh, let me go work for entertainment property and then go work for a grocery store. I mean, I think it would be the opposite. I think most people do the opposite. But it really was about how can we make that consumer be front of mind. And also, I think it's even about how you're talking about it in the industry. Like what's important? How can we remove friction from those consumers so you become the brand of choice? But that's where I get excited about it because it's not so much just about, I even think about education and what you're doing. Like it's still marketing that connection between people and how can we make them be engaged, from alumni perspective. The same thing I would be doing at Accuweather.
Can you share a little bit about how your Penn State experience, whether it was in the classroom or through your co-curricular activities, prepared you for what you do today?
Yeah, no, listen, I think that experience, if you can do well and thrive and enjoy being on a college campus, and in particular, I'm biased saying Penn State, I think it really bodes well for work today. Like I remember things like being in collaborative classes where you'd actually have to do group presentations. I do group presentations all the time with my team, and getting them to come forward, brainstorms on what you do. And that's everything from things you did in the classroom to what we really did in a lot of the activities I was involved with. So I think those kind of basic skills, but I wouldn't call them so basics. It's so critical for people to be able to operate and collaborate across teams. And also I think being able to voice your opinion and to ask questions and feeling comfortable about doing that. Because not everyone is an extrovert but it's about how can you make sure that you are engaging and learning what you need to learn so you can do your job best. And that's something I'm really encourage a lot of people to be doing. And I certainly even encourage myself in my own role because I realize if I don't speak up, the CMO or the head of marketing doesn't have an opinion or a point of view.
Absolutely. So you said something that I thought was interesting. You said I'm biased towards Penn State, and it triggered my thought in that, what great brands really attempt to do is create that bias in the minds of their customer. Right? There's something that happened at Penn State that was part of your Penn State experience that has forever now biased you to thinking that that is one of the best educational, if not the best educational experience that anybody could have. How do you tap into that as a marketer? What are those things that you're trying to tap into so that you're creating that brand loyalty and that bias towards whatever, whether it's a TV show or a grocery store or now your work at AccuWeather? How are you? What are you doing to kind of activate that within people?
Yeah. No, that to some extent is the $1,000,000 question. And so there's a couple things that I'm focused on right now for us is, when you think of AccuWeather, I hope you immediately think of the weather and I hope you immediately think of accuracy plus weather, our superior accuracy. But with that, I really want to humanize the brand. And to me, that's the same thing with Penn State. Like to me, Penn State is all about the people. And so, and even as alumni, I'd say the connections in many ways are stronger because I now have friends who graduated in the 60s as well as graduated in, 2018. And so I think about, our brand when we're looking at that is like, how can I humanize it? How can I make it be relatable? And so, for us, it's things like, bringing to life our meteorologists or the journalists or the developers who are all focused on, providing that superior accuracy to people. That's really exciting because it makes us look like we're real brand. Like we've got 100 meteorologists. Like who would have known that? Not just a computer system. So the more we can build those connections or find what resonates with consumers, I think that's really where it connects.
It's funny. I think, and this is a rhetorical question, but I think of one of your competitors, and I think that their brand is let's put our meteorologists in danger and watch them get pelted by hurricanes and terrible weather. It's people I think almost watch that just for the pure entertainment of seeing is this person going to get blown down a beach or not.
Well, it's interesting you make a point like that because a big part of what I want to do is to amplify some of the partnerships we have. So if I think about our partnership, for instance, with ABC and their owned and operated stations, so we've got New York and Philadelphia and Chicago, LA, and that is our AccuWeather forecast, but it certainly is presented by their local station or
Right.
USA Today or newspapers. So it's also about how can we better connect with consumers in that because they see our logo, but can I make it be more than just a logo? Because you're right, I am concerned when our meteorologists are out there in some of the storms, and we've had someone in California and Oregon, actually, of course, with
Yeah.
the fires, and then down in Louisiana right now with the hurricane coming in. So a lot of activity of late.
This is the Penn State Alumni Association's Coffee Hour. I'm Paul Clifford, and this morning I'm joined by Accuweather CMO Michelle Harmon-Madsen. So let's take a step back because your entry into the role at Accuweather was, shall we say, maybe less than ideal. Um, you're starting this position, so there's three things that I think maybe make it less than ideal. First, you start this position that had been eliminated by the organization. That's unusual, right? I mean, AccuWeather at one point made the decision we don't need a CMO, and then have brought this position back, and now you're the first person in that role. So talk about that leadership challenge.
No, I mean, I think a lot of organizations, the CMO role has been one that has been has really evolved over the last couple of years, and the individual who's in the role before really got promoted to do something in a different way within the university. I mean, within the university, within AccuWeather.
Right.
And so they were really focused on actually focusing on our network. And so it was a great opportunity for them, but it did leave the role open. And so when I came on board, one of the first responsibilities I really needed to jump into was to really bring that team together because marketing was divided into probably 4 or 5 different teams. And so one of my big focus was how could we create our own community, if you will, to really begin to collaborate and build on creativity. So that was absolutely priority number one.
So then the second thing that I think makes this challenging, you started in this role late February, early March, I think early March timeframe. COVID-19 hit. How did you approach that? I know when we were off air, you were saying you had a week together with your team, and then you had to go back to New York City and were in a remote position. So talk a little bit about launching and starting a new job during COVID-19.
Yeah, no, I joked with our leadership team a couple weeks ago that remind me that if I'm going to start a new job in the middle of a pandemic, a social movement, we were launching a new app, we were creating a new corporate website, that I would say no to that job offer. but seriously, it was really, I had 1 week in State College to really spend time with leadership and my team there. And then I had 1 week in New York where I have another big portion of my team. And so that's why number one was how could I start operating with everyone and beginning those communications? And so we pretty quickly started having regular Zoom meetings. Thank goodness for Zoom. It's a heck of a lot better than a conference call. And it was really about how could I build some of those relationships and build trust. And so it started off in many ways simple, like we literally, and I didn't do this week one, this was a couple weeks in, but we literally did a pajama breakfast. And so we all had our coffee and tea and we all teasingly came in pajama because we knew, let's make it be about us. And it was because I've met everyone's dog, cat, baby, husband, you name it. And it was allowing them to be comfortable and really letting them to kind of get used to being in that environment. So one, it was kind of building that trust and letting them kind of into my house. And then the next really thing was how could we start creating more opportunities to collaborate and brainstorm and doing it in a Zoom environment. And so setting up that safe environment for exploring that conversation. And that was really where helped it. And I would say that the team really came together. And I think part because they were all separated in different groups, they never got to have some of this collaboration. And so it was something we were really able to build on to, one, have some fun, but two, to really start moving business forward because we did have new products to launch and we couldn't wait around. We really needed to get moving and had to be creative because we weren't doing photo shoots with teams in many places. We had to do, what could we do, at our fingertips.
It's funny that you bring up the pajama breakfast. Each year at the Alumni Association, we get our staff apparel. I'm repping some of our apparel today. But then we also have this catalog of clothing that staff can choose to buy. jackets and a whole bunch of other things, right? This year, for the first time, we put pajamas into that catalog because a lot of people, admittedly, are working at home. They're a little bit more casual, and so it'll be interesting to see where those pajamas actually turn up at an alumni association meeting.
I love it. I hope one or two show up on a Zoom call.
Yes. So you touched on this a little bit, but let's dive in a little bit on as the CMO of Accuweather, what are you actually marketing?
Well, you could say, all right, we're a full service weather company, and so I'm marketing weather. But in reality, it's about how can we help our audience, our users every day, plan and prepare for their day, for their week, for their life. We want to make your life simple, safer, better, and we really mean that. It does. If you actually look at the heart of AccuWeather, it's really about safety. It's really about saving lives. Because this morning in New York, when I checked the weather. Luckily, it's a beautiful day today and the sun is shining. And if I was in Louisiana, my weather forecast would be very different and you'd be making very different decisions for your family. So we take it really seriously. And so, Maverick, Paul and I, before the show started, we were saying, our team is 24/7. And so we have had people in the office, a small group to be able to run the network, to be able to run the computer systems, the AI, the data scientists, to be able to make this happen. And we really were very serious about that. So I love to make it be celebrating the sunshine, but it's also really about how can we be preparing for those safety in those situations where we need to make sure we can provide people the information they need to make decisions for them, their family, and their business.
That is very well said. We're gonna touch on that in just a little bit in terms of how you get that information out to folks. Well, actually, let's go in that direction right now. So, what people people see the AccuWeather logo, they hear when they tune into their local news station, the AccuWeather forecast brought to you, right, and they go into their sponsors. But what they might not realize is how extensive of a network exists between AccuWeather and all the various places that you distribute your forecasts out to, or the information that you have available to you. And what might be of interest is to talk a little bit about how corporations are using, and that corporations that you've partnered with at AccuWeather, how they're using your forecasts and your data that you're able to share with them.
No, the B2B side of the business was actually, I'd say, kind of the foundation of the company. I mean, it really was, I think the first customer was a ski area where we actually told them the forecast for what was going to be coming up so they could plan. And today that continues that way. And so whether it's being some very large, I'd say, distribution companies to, for instance, a very major quick service retailer who actually takes our information to help plan their staff. So not only just how they're going to set up their supply chain for what products to have, but also will change their staffing based on what that information is. So this way they're providing the right kind of service when you walk in the door, because they know they need more staff when it's hot versus cold, or vice versa. And so it's interesting because that is a real big play. I'd say we've ton of customers in that Fortune 1000 space, but also medium-sized businesses that really are impacted by weather. So think about things like a landscaping roofing company to railroads going across the country. So that is something we have an entire team that's dedicated on giving those literally 24/7, have meteorologists available to help them make decisions for their business day in and day out.
It's interesting. People talk about, I'm waiting to go upstairs and grab my second cup of coffee this morning, and I know Jenny's going to ask me, what did you talk to Michelle about? And I'm going to say, well, we just talked about the weather, right? A whole show about small talk. But you've done some other really interesting things in your career. I know you had a great experience working with American Idol. Can you share a little bit about that experience and maybe some favorite stories from that time?
Yeah, no, I laugh at American Idol because it was fantastic. I mean, it was by far the number one entertainment property at that time, the number one television show, and it was in many ways, I was just working my tush off, right? I had teams in London and New York and LA, and I was busy, working with all of our brand partners. They were fabulous. The Coca-Cola Coca-Colas, AT&Ts, and Fords of the world. And, but it was always fun to bring people to see a show. And they'd be like, oh, I'm not really into entertainment. American Idol's fun, but I'll go. And they'd get there and you'd bring them backstage, or they'd see someone and all of a sudden there was Ryan Seacrest. And let me tell you, people stopped talking. So it was the best. And so I'll never forget one finale. And I think there was Carrie Underwood, Keith Urban, Kiss was backstage, and literally you've never, when you go backstage and if you've seen Kiss in concert, they look like super big guys, and then when you're up close and they've got the platforms on as well, let me tell you, it's a little overwhelming. But it was right. Fun to really bring clients backstage to kind of get to experience that. And but I really loved having things like the tour where you'd have small kids and their family just being so excited to come and experience it, and that up close, that it really was a wonderful experience to see the idols, because they were so young, to get to engage with the audience and really enjoy themselves. So they were just terrific.
That's fantastic. I can't imagine Kiss backstage. One of the funny things about Kiss is how their onstage personality is almost the opposite of what those guys are off stage.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The other one, which I thought was great, was Queen, Brian May, when he was there, and that was Adam Lambert got to perform with them, and then he's really gone on to do some really unique themes. So I feel like I was there to get to see the beginning of that relationship, but they were just some classic people. The other funny story I'll tell you, which I don't know what's funny now, but in the office, Simon Fuller, who owned 19 Entertainment, was the creator of the show, and not Simon Cowell, the judge. And so he really created it because he wanted to find new talent. That was really what he did. So he found like Amy Winehouse and the Spice Girls. And so one day I'm in the office and I'm hearing this voice. I'm like, I know that voice. And so I walk out of my office and there's Victoria Beckham with a couple of her kids. And so anyway, so it was never a dull moment being there. That's for sure.
This is the Penn State Alumni Association's Coffee Hour. I'm Paul Clifford, and this morning I'm joined by Accuweather CMO Michelle Harmon-Madsen. Michelle, you mentioned that you were a Lion ambassador when you were at Penn State, and walking backwards into history. And in some ways, it seems like you've never turned around, that while you have left Penn State, you continue to keep an eye back on dear old State. You've built this fantastic career, but you've still found time to give back, whether it's through Smeal or through the Alumni Association. Why is staying connected so important to you?
I feel like I was so fortunate, and I had individuals who, particularly while I was there on campus, gave me the nudge and helped me make my way. So even when I mentioned that group I was involved with, the Student Organization Budget Committee, it was because a sorority sister said, gosh, we're looking for someone. Michelle, wouldn't you be interested in that? And so there were people who really kind of helped me there. And so if I can help do that for someone else, to me, that's, I'd love to. And so it was funny because right before COVID hit, and I knew I was coming into this role, I happened to run into a woman that was my mentee at Smeal, and she's probably been out of business school, or out of Penn State, out of the business school for probably, 6 or 7 years. And she said, can I take you to lunch? And it was really sweet because, we had a great relationship, how many years ago, but I got to hear more about what she's doing. So to me, it's just kind of in my heart. Like, I just feel like we all need to give back as much as we can. And if we can help pass on anything we've learned or experienced onto someone else, I'm thrilled to be able to do that. So I've been part of the mentoring program of Smeal for years now, and I continue to look for ways. And so being involved with the Alumni Association, after being a Lion ambassador, was really wonderful because you just get to connect with so many different people in different ways.
So we have a lot of questions coming in, as you might imagine. We might turn this into a CMO masterclass by Michelle Harmon-Madsen. But before we get to those questions, and if other people have questions, make sure you drop them in the Q&A box or in the comments on Facebook Live. I want to have a little bit of fun, okay? So I want to kind of dive into your Penn State experience and do what we call a lightning round here. And so just going to throw some things out, and you tell me the first thing that comes to mind for you. So first, your favorite Penn State memory.
Ooh, oh my gosh. Well, we did win a national championship while I was there, so that was pretty fun. But I may have to give you the one that happened just slightly after I left because I met my husband. He's a Penn Stater too, so I might have to give him a shout out on that one.
All right. What was your favorite class at Penn State?
Oh, it was not the biology class I took my freshman year that made me know did not want to be a pre-med major, but it was really my marketing classes. I have to tell you, I really enjoyed them. And I was really fortunate that I had two fellow classmates who graduated with me that we always would team up together on projects and we had a ball. So I would say it was a lot of those collaborative marketing classes.
That's great. How about your favorite spot on campus?
Oh, the mall. I think just walking down the mall, like there's just something really beautiful about all the trees lining it. And it just, you feel like you're just in the middle of college campus and it's beautiful.
And your favorite building on campus?
Old Main. I had my office there for a bunch of years, and I just think there's something about the history, the frescoes, and it just, I think again, it just kind of is a symbol of the university, and so I'd have to pick Old Main.
I know Lion ambassadors from the time when you were an ambassador have some great stories about shenanigans in Old Main, where your office used to be.
Absolutely.
Uh, if you could have dinner with anyone, who would it be and why? And this is besides your amazing family.
Okay. You know what? Well, I might have to pick, how about Keegan Michael Key? He's
Yeah.
got to be fun. And, he's a great Penn Stater. But if I go outside of my Penn Stater, I even pick Dr. Barron. I always feel like I'm at a dinner, but he's sitting farther away and he's doing some really interesting stuff. But I'd also, if I had to pick some non-Penn Staters, I think I'd have to go with like Ruth Bader Ginsburg or Michelle Obama, or even how about the new CEO of Citibank, Jane Fraser? It really picks some interesting women.
Excellent. Those would all be interesting dinners, although I don't know if I'd want to have dinner with Keegan. I just want to listen to him, right? I mean, if he's eating, he's not talking. And
Just a cocktail.
yeah, he is a great guy and a character for sure. Your most unusual we are moment. This is you're walking down the street in a foreign country, or you're hiking on a trail. What was your most unusual we are moment?
It is amazing. I mean, I've actually run into people in Japan. But the other one I'd say is even on our boat dock, we have a boat and we happen to be chatting, and sure enough, next door to us, their son goes to Penn State Angelo. And so that was kind of fun. The other we are moment, which is a little different take on that. I'll tell you, Dr. Spanier, when he was president, babysat for my daughter. So that could be also my most interesting. Not one that he ever expected. And I should preface it, we both were going to the same dinner event, and I actually had invited him. And so he said, hey, why don't you stop by before, we haven't caught up in a while. And so I said, hey, do you mind my daughter and husband? He said, of course. So anyway, so we're chatting, and I needed, of course, leave to go to the dinner to prepare and set things up. And so there's probably an hour or so before he needed to get there. And he's like, why don't you leave Julia here? And Julia was probably, I don't know, 3, 4, I don't even think she was 5. And so I was like, really? He's like, yeah. Anyway, so he babysat Julia for an hour or so. Sure enough, I knew he and Julia were there when all of a sudden at the event, I heard this Dr. Spanish, Dr. Spanish, and sure enough, he comes in, Julia hand, he'd driven her over in the convertible, put the seatbelt on, like she was all safe. And it was great. So my daughter got to be babysat by Dr. Spanish. So another different kind of we are moment.
That is a fantastic story. I wonder if he put that on his LinkedIn profile then afterwards. He just added babysitter to his resume then.
He definitely should.
That's awesome. Your favorite Penn State sport?
Oh, this has got to be whatever Penn State sport is on television or that I get to see in person. I mean, it always changes. And, I have a very, I think back to when I was in school. And so my friends who played sports, so I think Brian Allen in basketball, I'm going to see him play, or Steve Wisniewski on football. So I had those friends, Kerry McCrory later on wrestling. And so I would make a point to watch that, but it's whatever sports, I'll watch any and all when they're on.
Steve Wisniewski was one of my favorites. He was one of the meanest football players ever to play. He was an Oakland Raider. And I just remember how nasty he was. And then it's almost the total opposite of his off-field personality, right? Because he's just a great guy.
Total gentle gentleman. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, I never could believe it, but he was known.
Yes, he definitely was known. And finally, your favorite flavor of creamery ice cream.
Oh, I love peachy paterno, but I think I really have to stick with bittersweet mint. But I will tell you that you have turned my family on to death by chocolate, Paul.
Okay. All right. So a lot of questions coming in. One that I think is really interesting and kind of timely to a conversation that you and I had recently when we went into this kind of COVID-19 work from home, remote type of program delivery. I remember one of the first questions we talked about was you were looking to do something kind of for an internal audience at AccuWeather to profile all the work that you do with the military and military veterans and honoring veterans. And so a question has come in asking about AccuWeather's commitment to military veterans as employees and beyond that.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Thank you. No, it's one of those areas where I feel like sometimes when you're located in State College, do you get removed from that? But I think it's such a great opportunity because if particularly those individuals that have been in science, but for that matter, journalists, developers, like we've got a whole cast of a team that really are in different ways that I think we benefit from those individuals being involved. And matter of fact, our head of international who leads our China group is a military veteran himself. And so we got involved with a military makeover with Montel Williams, which was fabulous. And so we helped build a house in North Carolina for a family that were injured veterans. And so it was a fabulous opportunity to be involved with this past spring.
So folks are wondering about about the actual kind of the journey to AccuWeather. How did you decide to join AccuWeather? Did they recruit you? Did you approach them? How does this happen at the CMO level or at the C-suite level?
For me, it's interesting. For my last few roles, I would say, was a combination of being reached out to, as well as a combination of other people saying, Michelle, would you ever think of that? And so I would say that really goes back to the power of the network and keeping in contact with individuals. And I will tell you, some of those roles have been very much influenced by Penn Staters, which I would say AccuWeather was one of those. And so I think keeping that close contact with network and with other people is really important. And particularly as a woman, that was one thing that I find we even need to do more is making sure we keep those connections because we may not always be top of mind. And so making sure that we're helping others as well as looking out for others is really important. Matter of fact, I think I need to thank Trish Makita, who might be I just saw something pop up and she was absolutely one of the people who said, Michelle, what do you think about this?
Absolutely. She's taking full credit for that in the chat box. So Trish Makita, as folks might know, also a member of Alumni Council and a team member over at AccuWeather. It's almost like it's Penn State's weather campus over there with all the Penn Staters that work over at AccuWeather.
Matter of fact, that's very true. I should have pulled out one of my Penn State mugs this morning. I realized it was in the dishwasher, but when I'm on Zoom calls, it's hysterical in a really fun way. I can't tell you how many Penn State apparel and shirts and everything that we see across the company.
So a couple people are looking for some specific advice, and so let me get to some of those questions. So first, a question is, as someone who focuses, so the question, the person asking the question is a person who focuses on relationship communication. What's the most crucial challenge in society today, communication-wise, and is there a path to resolving that?
Wow, that's a tough one. I think when you think about, to me, it's about authentic communication, and authentic is an overused word right now, but I think being as open and transparent as you can with your clients, your customers, your users, I think is really important. And so bringing that brand to life. And so we have a lot of serious conversation, like how can we communicate this better? Like how can it be easier for people to understand what we're trying to communicate? Do we change the visuals, the graphics, the language, the words themselves? And so I view it as something it's evolving. Like we always are trying to get better. And honestly, and as consumers kind of needs and wants change, it's about keeping fresh and keeping up to date them, because what we may have done a couple years ago doesn't seem quite as relevant today, or we wouldn't use it in those same ways. And so thinking really, being really mindful about how we're using that language is how I think we're approaching it.
So COVID-19 has had an impact on all of us, but probably has had a greater impact on some segments of the market. I think of people who run small businesses today. What do you recommend for small business marketing in today's environment?
I think, right now, the thing that I'm focused on, which I think absolutely applies to local businesses, is thinking kind of 101. And what I mean by that is it's a little bit back to basics. For a while, for instance, we were all about traveling abroad and great experiences. Well, I think you can still have great experiences, but they're closer to home. And so that's where I think some of those local businesses can really build on, because people want to have those connections. I mean, they want to be able to feel comfortable in their neighborhood. I know living here in New York City, I'm now making a very conscious decision to support my local neighborhood stores and to utilize them. And so I'm trying not to just buy online. I'm going there with mask on to go support their business. And so I think this is a time for local communities or local businesses to really focus on that community and to build those one-to-one relationships as much as they can. And so whether that is thinking creatively about how they can use their space outside their store and in their parking lot, to how they're reaching out to them, because it is about being part of the neighborhood, part of the community.
That's great. And I think that actually speaks to an earlier answer that you gave. And I think what's critical, or what I've been thinking about for some of our local businesses, is the personal side, right? It's trying to, you talked about personalizing weather. I'm thinking about it in terms of the people who own these businesses are my neighbors, right? And so how do we make sure that we're helping the people who live next door and live in our community and make those kind of contributions? I mean, it's different than walking into a box store. You don't know who you're helping when you're shopping there, but you do know who you're helping when you walk into the corner room or some of the other stores around town, right? It's more personal.
Absolutely. And I want those businesses to thrive, and I want them to be there, because that makes my living here in New York or any other neighborhood and community, that makes it come together. That's the fun. So I think it's a decision that I for me personally, but I also think it's a connection point for those businesses to make with their customers.
Yeah. At the end of the day, the work that you're doing is competing with other competitors in the marketplace. And so how do you differentiate your value proposition against those who are those who are competitors in this space?
No, I will tell you, on one level, I try not to pay attention to my competitors, because honestly, like, I need to do what's important for us and our users and who are there. However, with that being said, like, we're a full service weather company. We're global. So I can't just think about one local market, but I want to make it be personalized for you and your market. So there's some interesting things I think that we do that really make us stand out. So we launched Minutecast, which is probably 5 or 6 years ago, where you literally can go onto your app or online, and you can see minute by minute when that precipitation is coming, to really make a difference in how you want to plan your day, when your kids want to go outside and play, go for a run, you name it. But we also do things like weather news, which I'm excited about, because it isn't just about what the weather is today. It's about what's happening leading up to the storm, kind of the why. What's then, of course, how is it occurring, and then what are those stories that come afterwards? And that's really interesting, and that's kind of back to the community and human interest. But there's so much more that happens other than here's your temperature. And so that really has me excited, a lot of the content we can provide as well.
We personally use the Accuweather app. I encourage people to go out to their app store, whether it's Android or the Apple App Store. Download it. We use Minutecast whenever we go out with our dogs. We want to make sure that we're not out on the game lands and get caught in a lightning storm or get caught in the rain. And so we use that Minutecast every weekend when we take our dogs out for their long walk. So it has come in handy on a number of different occasions.
Well, I'm thrilled to hear that because we actually just relaunched the app. It's a new, really designed app this
Oh,
summer.
yeah.
I kind of teasingly said, gosh, if you would have told me I'd be at home while we're doing this, but it's really been exciting because it's all new design. It's across iOS and Android. It's the same experience now, which I think makes it be much easier for you to plan those occasions to walk the dog.
Absolutely. So, I think about the professors who we had when we were back in school, and they would say, what we're trying to do is prepare you for careers that may or may not exist. And so this question, I think, falls into the category of something you probably didn't learn in the classroom, but probably apply more often than you ever thought you would. So a question has come in, is there a recommended website, or how do you go about coming up with catchy phrases or words to use in email subject headers?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. We do a lot of brainstorming as a team. And so even when we came up with the new tagline we're using in our current marketing campaign, it's weatherproof your next adventure. And I'll give you kind of a little bit on how we thought about that. And maybe that will be some inspiration for that person. But when we thought about it, we knew it was all about our customers. It was about the user, so the you. And we knew everyone, particularly with COVID, was looking forward to what that adventure could be. And so we made it be your adventure. And so whether that was going to the grocery store, going for a walk, or for that matter, maybe actually taking a real vacation.
Right.
And then we did weatherproof, which was kind of based in our kind of history and our superior accuracy. And so that's how we came up with it. But granted, to even come up with that line, I can't tell you how many brainstorms we came up with. The other one I would say is I would look to other brands that maybe you admire, or other communications that you think are really interesting. And that could be as simple as Real Simple magazine, because they're focused on kind of some of those headlines, to CNN and the email they send every day. So I would look for inspiration in other media outlets or other competitors even. I actually take it back. I tend not to look at competitors. I tend to look at someone else. Like I'd rather look at Virgin Atlantic for inspiration for them, or pick Taco Bell, like to have some fun. Like I'd rather look there for ideas than I probably would my specific industry.
So a question coming in about one of those competitors, someone trying to raise your competitive hackles, I think here, is who is Weaver Rate? NBC Boston says they rate them #1. First, I want to know who's doing the polling on that. If it has anything to do with the BCS or the people who do college football rankings, then I don't know if I would accept their #1 rating. But what do you know about Weaver Rate?
I'm not exactly sure Weaver Rate. I'm guessing there is something out there called Weather Rate, I think.
Weather Rate, okay.
Yeah, but I'll tell you. So we've actually there's been individual studies done, that don't seem to be quite as much study, and I don't know anything about that one. So, but I can tell you that we've actually been rated #1 in the most extensive study that's ever happened by Forecast Watch, and it actually had 1 million different points across the globe. And to us, that was really compelling because it looked at a variety of different factors across those periods. It wasn't just a small little neighborhood. We also just released a big study with Kantar, and then actually looked at 8 different markets across the US, and that was with our partners ABC, and that we were thrilled to be ranked #1 in each one of those markets. But it's superior accuracy for us is super important. We continue to spend time, resources, development to continue to think about that. We work with models from across the world. I can tell you more about it than you may want to know on but it's something that's really near and dear to our hearts, but it's also really about how can we better communicate that to people, and how can we tell you the impact, because that's how it's going to make it important for you. So for example, if I say it's going to snow 2 inches in Rochester, New York, or for State College, you're going to say, oh, 2 inches. But if I say it's going to snow 2 inches in Atlanta, that could shut down the whole city for a week. And so that's the difference in impact. And so we want to make sure that's part of what we're bringing, that detail. It isn't just about the 2 inches.
That is fantastic. So we are coming up on the end of our time together this morning. A couple more questions that I want to get to. I want to ask you about your work with She Runs It, and about that nonprofit, and what lessons that you have learned through working with that organization that might be good for everybody else to hear about how we can empower the women in our lives to to pursue leadership roles. As a father of two daughters, I'm constantly saying, you should do this, or you should try that, or you should run for this office, within your school's kind of. So talk a little bit about some of those lessons that you've learned from working with She Runs It.
No, thank you for bringing up She Runs It. It's a terrific organization, and it works with women in every level of their career in media, marketing, and tech. And so what I love about it is it really is about both personal and professional development. And the key takeaway I'd say to anyone is, one, look at yourself and think about opportunities where you can raise your hand and where you can make sure that people understand that it's your idea. And sometimes it's subtle, and sometimes it's more obvious, because I think then the second step of that is, how can you engage others to help you do that? And there was a terrific article a bunch of years ago that even came out from Obama's cabinet, or his advisors, if you will, which by the time he left office was a fair number of women. And they said how they actually got their point across is they would purposely say, listen, this is something I want to talk about today. And they would tell other women there at the meeting. And then when they said the idea, if the subject got changed, the other one would bring it back and say, by the way, did you hear such and such's point? I think we should continue focusing on it. And it was a small skill, or a small way to make sure that everyone's ideas were really being voiced and heard. And it's something we can do in business and meetings there on college campuses, but it's about how can we support other voices in the room and make sure they're being recognized. And so when I think about leadership opportunities, really make a conscious decision to say, who else outside of my purview should we tap into? And so in Accuweather, we're going to be sending a group of women virtually to participate in Wall Street Journal's Women in the Workplace. And it would have been easy for me to pick the 15 women that sit close to me, if you will, or work with my team. And instead, I really went around the company to say, who are the people that in every department we need to have representative. And so I'd say for young women, look for people who you can ask to have your hand raised, and also look for others who you can help raise their hands.
Excellent. You mentioned early on when we were chatting that you were in a sorority. Go ahead and shout out those letters. What sorority were you in?
I was an Alpha Chi Omega.
Okay.
Okay.
And what is next for you in your career?
Oh gosh. I got a lot to accomplish. I just showed up at Accuweather. It's really, to me, what's exciting is we've got a brand that I really think, is so well established, and we've got a lot to do here, but I love being engaged with consumers. I love to be thinking differently about business and how we can make those connections stronger. So I'm always interested in that. And so my focus is certainly here right now, but I always look for opportunities that, lead me more down that path.
And we can't talk about Accuweather. I can't believe we've gone this long talking about Accuweather without mentioning Joel Myers. There's a question in here. How is Joel Myers doing? Do you have a lot of interaction with him? Because Paul Demert had him as a teaching assistant in 1969. He taught his survey course in meteorology.
Dr. Joel Myers, Joel is doing fantastic. I talk to him at least every week, if not almost every day. So absolutely. He's even doing great with Zoom and everything else. And so matter of fact, I often hear many of his stories about teaching in the classroom at Penn State. It's something very fond, and he's a very proud Penn Stater after being on the board of trustees for many years. But he is doing fantastic, and absolutely still the leader of the company. I mean, he is involved day to day.
So final question, coming probably from another room in your house there. Is your husband a good cook?
I said to him, he is becoming so much more of a better cook. I laughed. I said the first, 20 years of marriage was me. Now he gets the next 20. And so the other day, my daughter was giving him a critique on dinner. He's like, Julia said, Dad, why is there so much garlic in this? She's like, well, I like garlic. She's like, this should not have so much garlic. And I go to Julia, shh, quiet. Like, let's encourage him. Like, we got to keep getting him cooking. So anyway, and then I have to give one shout out to my high school, Hempfield High School. I saw Beth Wyman name pop up there. And so it's nice to see some of the Lancaster crowd on here. So thank you for joining.
That is great. Well, Michelle, it's been so much fun talking to you. Your accomplishments have certainly swelled thy fame of dear old state, and for that we're truly grateful.
Well, listen, I'm a proud alumni and I am thrilled to get to join you today. And so it's so nice to see so many names and familiar faces, or not to see the faces, but at least to see the names. So thank you, Paul, for hosting me.
Absolutely. And thank you all for joining us this morning on Coffee Hour, whether it's here in Zoom or on Facebook Live. We appreciate you continuing to participate in the Alumni Association's series of virtual events that we are sponsoring. To find out more about these events, go to our website at alumni.psu.edu/events. If you're a member of the Penn State Alumni Association, thank you so much for your support. If you're not a member, what are you waiting for? Go online at alumni.psu.edu, and you too can become a member of the world's largest alumni association. Tune in tomorrow night at 8 o'clock for another edition of Football Letter Live. I'll be joined by John Black, and we will be talking about everything going on with Big Ten football and how the Alumni Association supports the activities in Beaver Stadium. Our guests are actually going to be Lion ambassadors who were involved with starting the S Zone and how the S Zone comes together. We'll also be talking about the shakers that get distributed and all of the things that go on behind the scenes around Penn State football that the Alumni Association is involved in. Again, Football Letter Live, Thursdays at 8 o'clock. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you for all you do for the university, for the glory, and for the future. We are. Bye-bye.